Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Lukeness Monster. Today I'll be reviewing the Star Wars The Black Series 40th Anniversary of Return of the Jedi Chewbacca. Now, this is no ordinary Chewbacca figure, but it's actually the one based off of the Jabba's palace scene. So this one is a pretty cool figure, and I'm glad to finally have it in the collection. And I actually do like this release much more than them just repacking a previous version of Chewbacca. Anyway, looking at the package here, it is on this classic Kenner card back, which is pretty nice. It is based off of the original card back as well, so that art is what they used on the original Kenner figure. Flipping around to the back, I did pick this up at GameStop, as you can tell by the sticker, but we do have the full case assortment of Wave 2 here, looking nice. But anyway, let's go ahead, crack this guy open, and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Alrighty, so we got Chewbacca out of the box, and I gotta say, this is a very big figure. Chewbacca stands at, I believe, above 7 inches tall, so he is a pretty tall figure, and that is in scale with the 6-inch scale, like 1/12 scale figure, so I really do appreciate that they made this guy pretty big, and I'm honestly really surprised they did not make him a deluxe figure, considering how big of a figure he is. But, you know, I'm not upset that they're not charging a larger price for it, so I'm pretty happy with what they gave us. But unfortunately, this figure does reuse a lot of the old Chewbacca pieces, which are in desperate need of an upgrade. So let's go ahead, take him off the spinny stand, and take a closer look. So Chewbacca here does come with his one accessory, which is the bowcaster, and I'm actually going to have him let go of it, just because I don't really think it fits the scene if I don't, have it fall apart in my hands here. It doesn't really fit the scene. In this scene that he wears the collar here, he is pretty much getting taken to Jabba's palace by Leia, and because of that, he didn't have a blaster, he didn't have his bowcaster, and so I'm really glad they included the accessory, because it's one of those where I wouldn't want to pay full price for this if he didn't come with a blaster, but it just doesn't fit the scene, and so I probably won't display him with that blaster. But as far as new sculpts go, this thing is not new at all. The only new piece here is the head, and the head is pretty good in my opinion. I really like the sculpt for this. It does come with the chain here as well, but unfortunately the chain is way too small. This should be a pretty big chain, and you're gonna have a hard time getting Bouchelet to actually hold this chain just because it's such a short chain. But looking here at the details, I do really like the sculpting that went into this collar. It does go all the way around the back here, which I think it's a nice detail. And they even had like the fur around his collar get like matted down, because I that makes sense, and that would what would happen if he was actually wearing one. So I really do like the sculpting added into here. I think the paint apps are definitely some interesting choices here as well. He has very, very bright blue eyes, and he has very bright pink lips. And so it's definitely eye-catching. He almost looks like a supermodel in my opinion, or like he's wearing a heavy coat of makeup. Like, I don't know, it's just kind of strange, and it's eye-catching, and it's definitely not like some of the other Chewbaccas we have in the line, so definitely something I would point out. But as far as the rest of the figure goes, he is 100% reuse, so because of that, his articulation, very, very short. Like, his arm is barely nothing. Same with his other arm here. I do have problems with this thing keeps trying to fall down, so I've been trying to get it to stay up, but I've not had a ton of luck with that. As far as the torso goes, decent articulation here, not too bad. Obviously with the neck, there is barely any. You can get a little bit side to side, but that's about it. Shoulders can get up into a T-pose, which is nice, and obviously they can go all the way around if you would like. As far as the legs, the kind of fur there at the bottom does get in the way, so you can't kick up too far, but even with the out, it's not that much. And the knees don't get to 90 either. So yeah, as you can see, not great articulation, and he is in desperate need of a new sculpt. But for what this figure is, I think it gets the job done. And so as far as I would display this figure, I would definitely display it with Bouche Leia holding the chain, because again, that's the only scene Chewbacca even wears that collar in the first place. So I think this is how I would display the figure, and I think this is a great way to do so. But I do think that chain is a little short, and it makes Bouche Leia look a little funny trying to hold that chain. So I don't know, it is what it is, but I think it gets the job done. First up for comparisons, we do have the Return of the Jedi Chewbacca right here in the middle, Empire Strikes Back on the right, and A New Hope on the left. And I gotta say, this is definitely a lot of change between figures, almost some of the most change we've seen between different movies. But as you can see, yeah, very, very different, from the shade of the fur to the sculpt in the head. it's all different, but as you can tell, the body is all the same sculpt, and I think that's one big problem with these figures. But as you can tell, the Chewbacca here on the far left is the New Hope version, and he is much taller than the rest of the other Chewbaccas, so I think that is quite interesting. But as far as these three go, I think my favorite would have to be Empire Strikes Back, especially with the thing here on the back with C-3PO. But yeah, I think this new Return of the Jedi version definitely stands up, and I think he kind of represents compared to some of the other ones here. But especially compared to A New Hope, I'm not a big fan of that New Hope figure. So I do think that this newer version is much better than that. But comparing it to Empire Strikes Back, I don't think it's much better. Next up for comparisons, we do have two more Jabba's Palace people. We do have Lando here on the left, and we have Luke on the right. And I gotta say, these figures look great together. It's really nice to have a complete Jabba's Palace display now, especially with this version of Chewbacca. It was really the last, I guess, main hero from that Jabba's Palace scene that we needed, and it's nice to get that one in the line now, and he looks great next to these other Jabba's Palace heroes. And then, of course, we do have the remaining two Jabba's Palace heroes here, with Han Solo on the right and Boushh Leia on the left. Again, they look really good together here. I think I would love to get a white shirt Han at some point in the line, but unfortunately we haven't gotten that yet. But we do have the in Carbonite version, and that's going to have to do for now. But again, they look great together, and it's nice to have the full set of Return of the Jedi heroes. And then last up for comparisons, we do have some Jabba's Palace aliens with Bib Fortuna on the right and the Gamorrean Guard on the left. I think Aliens is one of the things that the Black Series does really, really good, and you can definitely tell that by these three standing here. They all look incredible, and again, I know I've said this like 3 times in this video now, but it's really nice to kind of flush out that Jabba's Palace display. So yeah, overall this is definitely an interesting figure, and it's very scene specific. So if you are trying to do a Jabba's Palace display, I think that this is a figure that is 100% worth the pickup. But if you're looking to do any other Return of the Jedi display that is not that specific scene, it's probably not worth your pickup. At that point, I would go and pick up a proper like Empire Strikes Back version. That would be your closest variation to actually work for Return of the Jedi. But I think this one is great for what it's supposed to be, but again, it's very scene specific, and if that's not for you, it's not for you. And so if that's not for you, I totally get it. But for me personally, I really like this, and I do have a Jabba's Palace display in the works, so it's really nice to get this figure, and again, it really fleshes out that scene. So overall, I think I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5, and this is one of my lower scores that I've given. Overall, I really like this figure, and I like the idea of it, but until they update that 2014 Chewbacca body, it's just not going to work for me. I think it'll get the job done, but it's not going to look pretty doing it. The articulation is horrible, and the mold is not great. And so until they fix that, it's not going to get anything better than a 3 in my book. So if you guys did enjoy, hit the like button and subscribe, and I'll see y'all again in the next one.